What's up, everybody? My name is Alison Bloomquist, and welcome back to the Thank God Pod. Okay, you guys, we're back for another solo episode on the Thank God Pod. I have a funny story I want to share with you guys today, but today I'm going to start a new series. I want to start a solo episode series. I'm not going to make any promises, but I'm thinking once a month I'm going to do a solo episode on what God's been teaching me lately. And part of it, I'm going to be honest with you, is going to be good for me to reflect because sometimes I'll learn something and then completely forget it. I don't know if you guys feel like you can relate to that, but God will teach me something and then like 1 year later, I'm relearning the same lesson because I didn't spend enough time with it. So part of it is to be like, Allison, you need to do some better reflecting. But the other thing, or the other reason anyway, that I want to do something like that is because I kind of want to cue you guys into the fact that I am still very much learning, and this is still very much a student type process for me. And I really would argue that would be the process for anyone on this walk, right? You're a student for life. You're a student of Christ for life if you're really on this journey and you really care to continue in your faith. And so, I don't know, I just kind of want to cue you guys into some of the curriculum, so to speak, that the Lord's been teaching me. And there's so much good stuff. And sometimes I feel like God gives things to me in a super digestible way, if that makes sense. Like it's explained to me in like baby terms, and then the topics can go pretty deep. But yeah, I just want to let you guys into some of that stuff because I think it's helpful. I think it can be helpful for you, and hopefully it can help me reflect better on it because oh my gosh. If you guys are watching the video, this is not an ad at all. However, I'm just gonna let you guys in on this. I literally am wearing these like skim, like cozy pants or whatever. I don't know. Actually, I don't know what they're called, but you guys, when I tell you I probably put them on like 4 or 5 times a week, yes, I wash them. Do I wash them every time? No, because I just wear them around the house. But when I tell you I wear them non-stop, like if I'm working at home, I'm gonna put my Skims pants on. If I'm making food, I'm putting my Skims pants on. As long as I don't leave the house, then I'm probably wearing these pants. And I don't know what it is, but they're so comfy. You guys, I'm the kind of person like I do love to get dressed up and I love to be fitted and I love to feel confident and all the things. But if I'm just schlepping around the house and I gotta work at my desk or something, odds are I'm wearing sweatpants. I'm just not the kind of person who's going to put on jeans or I mean, sometimes leggings, yes, if I'm feeling like motivated or I'm like, okay, Allison, you're going to the gym this morning, then maybe I'll put on some athletic wear. It does make me feel more efficient too. But I literally am the kind of person who's like, I want to be comfy no matter what I'm doing. And a lot of what I do, I can do from home. So here I am in my Skims pants again. I should probably buy a new pair because they're destroyed, but whatever, they still work, right? Okay, but yeah, let's get to the good stuff. Like I said before, I'm going to make this a series, and if it works out, it works out. If not, maybe I'll ditch it. But you guys know I am very much new to this podcasting process, and my plan is to be completely authentic with you the whole time. So yeah, here we go. The first thing that I really feel like God's been teaching me, and this has kind of been over a longer stretch of time, but something I've really been trying to figure out is God, how do I better hear your voice? Or how can I, hear you when you're talking to me more? Because there's so many voices in the world, you guys. Like so many voices. Good, bad, even voices that we could interpret to be good or interpret to be bad. Our perception could totally shape the way that we see things. But I really just have wanted to be like, okay, God, what is your voice? Because I've got so many different voices. I've got friends, I've got family, I've got social media, I have teammates, I've got all these different things that are just kind of constantly like applying opinions and advice. And I'm like, God, what I want to hear from you. I want to know what you're saying before I want to know what anyone else is saying. So there's been a couple different things that have really helped me and can maybe help you with hearing God's voice better. And the two things that come to mind is the first, you've got to know how to discern God's voice versus anything else. And how do you even do that, right? How do you distinguish God's voice in comparison to all these other voices that are constantly trying to come at you? And not that God can't use other people or other circumstances. However, there is a way to discern whether something aligns with truth or whether it doesn't. And you guys, that is literally just the Bible. The only way we can really, really become more acquainted or more familiar with God's voice is reading the word because that's his words. That's literally what he said, what he continues to say. And so the more familiar you get with the Bible and its words, the more familiar you become with God's character. And then you grow in your discernment. Now, if you're not familiar with what the word discernment means, it's basically, if I'm going to sum it up in a super surface level way, it's basically your ability to decide whether something is good or bad. It's you discerning. Is this good or is this not good? Is this from God or is this not from God? So, as you read the Bible more and more, and as you get more familiar with the stories and you read about Jesus and his character and how he showed up, you are going to grow in your discernment. And then this is where things get really interesting, right? I mean, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I feel like I constantly have chatter going on in my brain. Oh, Allison, this, like, this is going on, this is going on. You need to think about this, you need to think about this. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, what is all this commotion in my brain? What is going on? And sometimes it's really hard to tell, okay, is this something I actually need to do? Is this something I really need to worry about? Is this something I really need to put attention on? And I've gotten so much better at quieting these voices simply because I've learned how to discern which one is from God and which one is not, right? So if you're trying to hear from God better, 12 out of 10 recommend reading your Bible. And that can be an intimidating thing. I've talked about this on the pod before in the past. The Bible, it's deep, you guys. And some of it, reading it firsthand, it's hard to digest. Some of it can be hard to believe. I totally understand that. There's stories in the Old Testament that at first, I really was like, God, how could this be real? But as I grew in my faith, I started to understand how and why it totally is. So give yourself grace, find someone who can help you walk through it. If you ever need help or tips or whatever, shoot me a DM. I will do my absolute best to get back to you. Get connected in community. There are so many people who have spent time studying and reading the word and probably would have some really useful tips for you. God definitely has planted people in your life around you. If you're listening to this, I swear he has, who can help you digest the Bible better because he wants you to get to know him better. He knows you so well. He knows every single hair on your head. There are verses that say he knows you better than anyone else because he created you. But in turn, if we want that mutual relationship, right, we have to know him too. And he literally, you guys, like, just to pick up my Bible, he gave us a whole instruction manual. He gave us a whole book dedicated to knowing him and his character. Like, that's profound. So if you have this genuine interest of getting deeper and knowing the Lord, get a Bible and just read. You guys, the way my relationship with the Lord changed after I started reading the Bible is incomparable to any other thing that I've ever tried. I'm not saying don't do the other things. I'm not saying don't get in a small group. That's helped me a ton. Devotionals have helped me a ton. Going to church has helped me a ton, but I have grown the most in my faith when I got in the word alone and spent time with God by myself, just praying and reading. Um, so yeah, that's definitely one way that you can begin to hear God better and understand his voice. Another way that I have personally found God to speak to me, and you have to use discernment with this one too. Discernment is a crucial part of the faith journey, but typically God will put things on stereo for me. Now, like I said, discernment is an important piece for this. However, when I say put things on stereo, I mean I'll get the same message from my mom and then I'll see it on Instagram. And then all of a sudden, I'm getting the same lesson in a YouTube video that I just randomly clicked on. And then all of a sudden, the book that I'm reading that I got, you know, 3 months ago from my grandma is talking about the exact same thing that the Lord is trying to teach me. So maybe this is just because I'm stubborn, or I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe this is really just how God tries to get our attention, but it's like we get the same message over and over and over again. And it can be quite the process. It can pull quite a bit of patience out of you, or it can just really reveal some things about you if you have to hear the same message over and over again. It can just reveal you like, dang, maybe I got some work to do. Maybe I should just, instead of learning the hard way, just trust God with it. I have definitely taken the hard way quite a bit of times, which, if you know me personally, you can probably name 3 examples off of the top of your head about how I've tried to do this. But that being said, I have seen God put things on stereo in my life to affirm the direction that I'm trying to go, teach me, give me peace. Like he has shown up in so many different things. I remember there was this one time where I kept seeing the same Bible verse everywhere. And it's not like it wasn't just my, you know, how your phone listens to you and then all of a sudden your explore page has like 12 different posts of the same thing. It wasn't that, you guys. It was I heard Proverbs 3, 5, 6, the verse that says, trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not on your own understanding. That verse in so many different ways. And it had hit me like 4 or 5 different times. And I was so upset one day. I remember when I was driving, this was probably like a month ago. And I'm driving down the same road that I drive, like I've driven down. I drive down it like 3 or 4 times a week. And all of a sudden, I'm like super upset. And I was like, Lord, I just need a sign. And I look up on this road, right? I look up and there's this massive sign that just says trust. And immediately my brain is like, oh my gosh, the verse. Like it immediately reminded me of the verse because I continually was seeing it all week, right? But God literally will just put a sign in your path that you've been on like multiple times. I've been on this road multiple times and I have never seen this sign, you guys. Like my attention has never been brought to the sign. So if you keep seeing the same repeated thing and it aligns with truth, man, I would just take an extra second to pray about that and be like, God, is this you trying to speak to me? Like, are you trying to tell me something with this? And I'm not saying that everything that you repeatedly see is God. I want to make a clear point of that. But I do want to say that if it aligns with truth, I would definitely give it more than just an initial thought. Think about it, pray on it, because I've found a lot of the times that God is trying to speak to me when He's putting something on stereo. The next thing that I am really learning right now from God that I feel like He's teaching me is that God is so specific. And this might sound odd, but when I say God is in the details, God is in the details, you guys. He knows everything about your life. He knows the desires that you never verbalize to anyone. He knows it all. And just to give you guys an example of this, and this is not at all to preach prosperity, but there was this one time where there was this one time where I was going through all my like workout clothes and stuff, and I was like, I just want to get on more of a gym grind. I want to get more consistent. Um, and I remember just a thought crossing my brain of like, I haven't bought workout clothes in a while. I've been trying to be a lot more intentional about how I'm spending my money so that I can save. And so one of the things that I've just knocked off is like, Allison, you don't need more sports bras. You don't need more leggings. You don't, you have what will work for you and you don't need to spend more money on this stuff. And I was going through all my stuff and I was like, I'm making a plan to be more intentional about going to the gym. And the thought just crossed my brain like, it would be nice to have like, maybe just like a new workout set. I don't know. It's so stupid. Like the thought went through my brain and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Allison, you're being so dramatic." But it was just this desire that I had, right? That I didn't you guys, I'm going to be honest, I didn't think twice about it. I was just like, "Yes, I want this, but I don't need it." And I know I don't need it. Um but I think I did pray about it and I was like, "Lord, if there's any way that you know, I could just make a little bit of extra money to buy myself something to, continue to motivate myself for the discipline that I'm trying to have in going to the gym." And then I just left it alone, right? The next day, I want to say it was the next day, Elise, my roommate, was like, "Hey, Allison, I was going to get rid of these workout clothes. Like, do you want them?" I literally looked at her and then I started tearing up. I'm like, there's no way that you just said that. Like, there's literally no way. And I'm like, bro, I just had this like small desire in me. And I was thinking, I was totally brushing it off because it's not that deep, it's not that important. But God heard it. You guys, God, it was the smallest little desire. And not that this is how it always works, and not that, just because you want something, you're going to get it right away. But it just reminded me that God is so in the details. And then to follow up on that, I ended up meeting up with my mom and she was like, what's really weird? Out of nowhere, you guys, I'm not kidding. Out of nowhere, she goes, what's really weird? I just I just kind of feel like I'm supposed to send you $50 for workout clothes. Like, what? Like, are you kidding me? Like, be for real. Mom. And then I told her the whole story and I told her about Elise and it just brought me to tears because like, yeah, that's my God. I claim that. Like he literally is in the smallest details, and he hears your thoughts and he knows your desires. And not that this is how it's always going to play out. Like I said, I don't want to preach the prosperity gospel, but sometimes he really just does want to gift you and bring you joy. And he wants to remind you that he sees everything. He knows all of your thoughts. He knows everything you're thinking in your head, and he loves you to the fullest, exactly as you are right now. And in my brain, I'm like low key shaming myself. I'm like, you don't need more workout clothes, like blah, 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 blah. But like, God just showing up and loving me in the middle of where I'm at. And now I have a couple extra pieces of workout clothing that I can wear to the gym and just inspire me and continue to motivate me. You know, God, you guys know how it is when you put on a new outfit. When you go to the gym, you're like, yeah, I feel good, right? Like, you're like, okay, I feel all put together, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's just what I was like. I was, I don't know, I was just wanting that desire. And then, boom. Like, how cool is that? And so yeah, I've just had a couple different instances happen in the last month where God has reminded me that he really, really, truly is in the details, and that he knows me, he knows my ways, he knows my thoughts, he knows everything about me, even the dark stuff, and still loves me to the fullest and still wants to show up in the small details. And I say this often to encourage people, but you have to look for him. If you are just hoping that God is going to appear, well, I can promise you that he's everywhere. He's omnipresent. That he never leaves us. It literally says it at the end of Matthew. It says that Jesus is with us until the end of the age. He says, I am with you always to the end of the age. He doesn't leave us, you guys. Like, he truly is always there. But we kind of have programmed ourselves to become these people who don't recognize him always being there. So we have to tune ourselves into it. So when you grow in your discernment, like we talked about, you start to see him in all of the specific details. And you guys, it's mind blowing. There is nothing that brings me greater joy than those little moments. And it's like, Allison, that doesn't seem that cool maybe, or that doesn't seem, I mean, maybe it does to you. To me it's like crazy, but the thing is that God knows what's gonna get me. He knows what's gonna be like make me get excited or make me be like, oh my gosh, I know that's God, right? He knows exactly how I am, and he knows what I need to see to know that it's him, if that makes sense. So then it's the same with you. He knows how to speak to you in a way that you will be like, oh my gosh, this is God. But like I said before, this is a thing that grows over time. Discernment has to grow over time. So I would just, if you are in a space where you are really trying to hear God's voice better, I would just read your Bible and be like, Lord, help me to see you in my day to day. There's so many verses, you guys, that talk about seeking the Lord. We have to seek him. We have to look for him. And sometimes we just forget that. But the more you exercise that muscle, the more it's going to grow. And then the more instances you're going to have, just like mine, where God will be in the details. And it is the coolest thing ever. The next thing that I want to share with you guys that God is absolutely putting on blast for me right now is this concept of choosing which glasses I'm putting on every morning. Now, let me kind of explain to you what I mean by this. My therapist, I used to go to therapy regularly. I'm not currently going regularly anymore, but I still stay in touch with her, and we have like little, catch up meetings every once in a while just because why not? But anyway, she used to throw on these glasses, and they were literally like poop emojis over her eyes. And she would do this. This is so iconic of her. Her name is Pam. Love her. She would do this whenever I would just be on these tangents, these rants, and I would not stop talking about why everything was so bad. Basically, what she was saying was, Allison, you're looking at this through a lens of crap. You're choosing to see this as bad, 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 bad. And it's not that bad things aren't happening or that bad things aren't taking place. However, when our perspective is literally just crap, that's not helping us to progress. It's not helping us to grow. It's not helping us to move forward, right? So every once in a while, on occasion, she would just throw these glasses on and I'd be like, bruh, like, are you for real right now? So lately, actually, if you listen to my last podcast, the one with Nick Carlisle, he talks about this concept called the world of possibility. And this is kind of where I've developed the second half of my kind of analogy here. So he's just got this whole thing around the world of possibility and looking at the world as how can I view my circumstances as opportunity and how can I find the best thing out of this experience? Or I don't know, he frames everything in the world of possibility. And I really admire that, right? So then this like idea kind of came to my brain of like, Allison, I was reminded of the glasses that my girl Pam would put on. And then I thought, okay, if I'm not putting those on, then what can I put on? And then all of a sudden, I just thought about glasses being two little earths over my eyeballs to paint a picture for you guys, and how every single morning I have to choose which glasses I'm gonna put on. And it's a silly little analogy, but you guys, this can go so far. Like, I'm painting this as a super digestible thing here. But if I wake up and it's pouring rain outside right now, so let's just use this as an example, right? If I wake up and it's pouring rain outside and I choose to put on the crap glasses, I'm gonna be like, oh my gosh, now I can't go on a hot girl walk this morning. I'm gonna be sad because rain makes me sad, blah, 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 blah. Or I could put on the world of possibility glasses and be like, oh my gosh, wait, this is good because now I know I'm going to dedicate an hour more of time to creating content for the podcast since I'm not going to be able to walk outside. And now I know I'm going to be able to do blah, 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 or I can call my grandma instead and catch up with her because I need to prioritize that. If I put on the world of possibility glasses, I'm creating a reality for myself that things are always working for me and my best interest is always coming out of this. And now you might be like, okay, well, how would scripture back this? There's literally a verse that says God works all things together for the good of those who love him. If you love him, then he is making all things, rain included, the hardest things you've ever gone through included. He's making all of those things work together for your good. And sometimes it takes us a longer time to see, okay, how would God, make good come out of this? Like, this is terrible. But I've seen God, you guys, do some crazy things in my life. I have seen him take the hardest situations and create good from it. And in the moment, sometimes it can be really hard to see things that way. However, trusting God looks like putting on the world of possibility glasses every single day. And the deeper that you get into the Bible, the more you realize that Jesus really does touch on perspective and he really does touch on believing in the best in people. And his disciples talk all the time about the world of possibility, truly. You just have to look for it. Sometimes I think we read the Bible and we forget that the people who wrote the Bible were just like us, right? Like, yes, God used them as a vessel. Yes, God gave them the perfect words, but like the disciples that were writing the Bible were also sinful people too. They can relate to us very well. And they talk so much about basically the power of perspective. They talk about how we literally have to renew our minds. We have to make new our minds because the world tries to shape it in a way that's makes us put on these literal crap glasses, right? So, I hope that can be encouraging to you. The Lord keeps bringing this to me, and it's like I keep getting this picture in my brain of two pairs of glasses sitting on my nightside table or my bedside table every morning. And it's like, Allison, which ones are you going to which ones are you going to pick up? Are you going to pick up the ones that say, I'm going to figure out how to create opportunity out of all this? Or are you going to pick up the ones that say, oh my gosh, the world is happening to me, and this is all the reasons that this sucks, and I made these plans, and now all of a sudden I can't even do them because it's raining outside, or something got changed in my schedule, or blah, blah, blah. You have a lot of power in the perspective that you choose to view things through. There's a lot of power in that, you guys. And something that kind of comes up with this world of possibility versus crap glasses is either identifying with your failures or owning them and moving on, right? And we're all gonna fail. We're human beings. We're not going to be perfect. Yes, we're on a path to being perfected. When you're walking with the Lord, you're on a path to being perfected, but we're not perfect just yet. And so failure comes to my brain, right? I like to do things well. I'm sure you guys can relate to this. I like to get the most out of every experience and I don't like to miss out and blah, 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 blah. But I've kind of come across this thing in my life that I feel like God is kind of pointing to me time and time again, where he's saying, yeah, Allison, maybe this would be considered a quote unquote failure. However, I'm using all things to work together for your good. And you don't need to identify with those moments. you can own them and be like, yeah, that's what happened, and be like, okay, this took place. I guess you can take responsibility for them, right? But you don't identify in failure. And this has just been kind of mind bending for me, but I'm going to give you guys a very real example of how this recently just happened in my life and how the power of perspective and literally the power of the Lord, because if it was not for the Lord, then I know I wouldn't have handled this way. But just to show you how you don't have to do this and how the Lord literally is so good. So, currently, I'm in the middle of auditioning for my third season with the Detroit Lions cheerleaders, and I have loved being a part of the team. I have learned so much. It has been such a gift to me, to be a part of that program and to be connected with all of these incredibly wonderful girls. And so, auditioning has been on my heart. And I'm in the middle of this process, you guys, and I'm 24. I was really just about to say I'm 23. I'm literally 24. Well, but I'm auditioning for my third season, right? And I make it through the first round. I'm just like pumped. I'm happy. And then we learn this like basically 45-second combo or dance. If you're not familiar with dance lingo, we learn this like 45-second combo to a song, and we have to audition it twice in a row. So we audition it once, and then we switch lines with the people that we're in a group with, and then we do it right again, like back to back. And I got up to go do this part of the audition with my group. There was like three other people in my group. We auditioned in really small groups. And I'm feeling super good about it. I'm going into it, I'm like, I know the choreo, I feel confident, everything's gonna be good. I'm trying to talk myself into the right space, and I'm praying on it. And right before I went out, kid you not, you guys, I literally just was like, you know what, Lord, I want you to, I just want to do this however you want me to do this. And I remember in that moment being like, dang, that could mean that he might want me to fail. I mean, not that he would want me to mess up or make a mistake or make a fool out of myself, right? But the Lord, if I'm looking at the bigger picture right now and I don't do this exactly how I want to do this, like maybe the Lord needs it to go that way because of XYZ. Or, maybe he just wants me to do my absolute best. But if I surrender my performance to him, I know that things will look different, right? He can do anything with anything I put out there. He can make good out of any circumstance, or I just don't know. Like, I'm not saying that the Lord would want me to do bad, but I was just kind of trying to surrender my performance and just be like, Lord, whatever you want me to do with this, like I trust you, and no matter how I do this, I trust you. And you guys, I'm gonna be so honest with you. I went out there, went to go do it, and the first time that we went through the combo, I literally forgot the whole thing. Like looking around like deer in headlights, and I have never had a moment like that in my professional career, um where I just couldn't remember, and it was hard. And I don't know if you've ever done something where you like needed to show up and perform and do really well, or you're in a space where you're trying to quote unquote prove yourself. But this is an audition process, and there are incredibly talented people that I am auditioning with. And so the pressure is on, and something just wasn't clicking. And in that moment, you guys, I was reminded like, dang, two things. First, I can't do anything without him. I I literally need him to do all things. And in this moment, I'm just like having this tear in headlights moment. And I mean, I didn't even know I could think so many thoughts in such a short amount of time, but I was doing that. Like, I'm going to be so real with you guys. I was literally doing that. And I'm like, two things that are going through my brain. First thing, oh my gosh, Lord, I legitimately cannot do anything without you. And the second that I try to do something without you, I become incapable. Um, and then the second thing was like, dang, this really matters to me. And you guys, I've never learned so much in a very small amount of time, but something that I've really been learning lately is like emotions point us to what we really care about. And sometimes I think we're like, oh my gosh, why do I have all these emotions and all these feelings around things? Well, maybe our emotions are really just there to be indicators of like, hey, this is where you put a lot of passion, or this is where you put a lot of priority. And I kind of went through a space of shaming myself for having emotions, and I feel like God is kind of neutralizing that a little bit for me, and he's just like, "Hey, I'm trying to allow you to see what you care about. You're having these emotions, and I'm using them to reveal to you like, "Hey, Allison, this is where your priorities are. Hey, Allison, these are the things you really care about. These are the things that you have a passion for." And so I'm kind of learning like the most I could possibly learn in this super short amount of time. And I remember thinking, God, we finished that combo, you guys. Like I told you, we had to do it back to back, right? We did it the first time, and then we switched lines, and I'm like, Lord, I need you so bad right now. Like I'm not gonna be able to get through this thing. I don't know how I'm gonna remember. I don't know what's gonna happen. But I need your help, like bad, because in a moment like that, it's really, really. I mean, if you guys have been in a performance experience before, It's hard to come back from a moment like that. It's like, oh my gosh. And so I literally am praying and I'm like, Lord, just please help me put my best foot forward. Help me to honor you with the gift that you have given me. And you guys, I went to do this again and I felt so good about it. I don't even know how. It's like literally a testament to the Lord's grace, but I went out there and I remembered the whole thing and I felt so confident doing it and I was like, whoa, what just happened? Um, and I personally have never experienced in my sport bounce back that happened that fast, or at least not that I can remember. And so I just took this as a moment to be like, dang, I can't do anything without the Lord, but I can do anything with him and anything is possible with him. And sometimes it just takes a moment of humbling yourself, like in the middle of an audition process after you just bomb something, to be like, Lord, I need you right now. And you guys, he shows up. He shows up. And I don't want to blanket statement it. I don't want to say that's how it's going to happen for everyone. But I know in that moment, that was such a testament to God's character and who he is. And I'm really, really grateful for him because I don't know if I would have been able to bounce back like that. But the processing that I've had to do after has had to be super intentional, right? Like I don't want to draw conclusions from a moment like that are hurtful to me. I don't want to be like, "Oh my gosh, now I'm a bad dancer." "Oh my gosh, like it's easy to draw conclusions from a moment like that aren't helping me progress or aren't helping me grow. And I just had to be like, Allison, it's good to be humbled, one. Everyone needs to be humbled. Humility is an important thing. And you know what? I guess that was just my time to be humbled. But two, how can I how can I make how can I put my world of possibility glasses on in this situation and be like, this is an opportunity. And I tried to use this as an opportunity to connect to other people and just have a relatable story and just to comfort people and to honestly, I had to be like, Lord, I know I can have joy in these moments because you tell me that I can have joy regardless of my circumstances. And I was able to find joy after a moment like that, which in the past for me, that would have been really difficult thing to do. And so I I guess what I'm trying to tell you guys is that like it takes real work when you have a moment like that to not identify in your failures, but it is really helpful for your faith when you can just be like, hey, you know what? That might have not been my most favorite part of my journey, but God knew I needed this as a part of my curriculum to grow. And I'm going to be okay and I can come back and I can bounce back and I can be resilient and I can continue to go to God about this and I can come back stronger. And yeah, it was quite a moment, but I'm just so grateful for my relationship with the Lord and I'm grateful that I could have a reset in my brain and I could get my quiet time and I could just remember, you know what, no matter how I show up in future audition and the rest of the audition process, like the Lord doesn't change his view on me. He still loves me. He still thinks I'm so valuable. He still cares for me. And yeah, I feel it's a scary thing to tell you guys that because I'm still in the middle of this audition process. I don't know how this is gonna play out. I'm praying for the absolute best. Um, God's will be done, but that was quite a moment and I learned a lot about myself and the kind of person that God's calling me to be and it's important to not identify with your mistakes. It's important to own them. Um but it's not what makes you who you are. Who you decide to be after that is. So, I hope that can encourage you. I hope that can feel like a relatable thing. Because hey, I'm not doing things perfect all the time. I'm doing my absolute best. But that's a very real experience and yeah, it was tough. there's even more, to be honest, that I want to pull off of with this concept between the world of possibility glasses and the poop glasses. But one of those things is that God doesn't call you to something that he's not going to equip you for. And gosh, when I tell you guys, I feel like that concept to me really hits home when I do the podcasting stuff. It does. Sometimes I'm like, why am I like, how, where, when, what audacity? Like the you guys, the thoughts that go through my brain, but at the end of the day, I always come back to the fact that like I know the Lord called me to do this, and even though it feels uncomfortable and even though it feels scary, I'm gonna do it because he's going to equip me. He doesn't, it's that, it's like that cliche quote that you hear sometimes. God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. If he calls you to do something, you can be darn sure that you are going to be equipped to do it. He's not going to send you into a space to like just shame you or embarrass you or whatever it is. He's going to use something like that to pull greater character out of you and to help you grow and to give you more confidence in him and more trust in him, right? It's everything that we do is about growing in relationship with him. I mean, it's so cool how he uses our desires and strings all those things into it, but really it's all about spiritual growth. And so I just, if you're walking into something that feels scary or it makes you feel uncertain or you feel like God's calling you to do something that's like way out of your comfort zone, well, hey, let's walk hand in hand in this. I really don't feel qualified to do a lot of the things that I do, but I can see how the Lord has truly helped me step into this greater version of myself because he's put me in these positions. But yeah, don't be just because something's big, just because an opportunity might feel really big, give it a second look, pray about it and be like, God, are you calling me to step into this thing? Are you, is this whatever's coming up, is this something that you want me to step into? Is this something that's gonna help me grow in my spiritual walk? You know, man, I just really want the best for you guys. And sometimes we're called to do things that feel way beyond our capability, but it's the coolest thing ever when you have that awareness fully, you're walking through it, and then you see the Lord show up in that. Like, whoa, it's so cool. It's uncomparable to any other kind of joy you would experience in the world. So do it. If you feel God's calling you, but you don't feel equipped, just go for it. We can pull a Nike, right? Just do it. The last point, and this one might be my favorite. That's kind of hard to say, but this one, this really got me. I remember, okay, so just recently my mom and I went out to lunch to celebrate Mother's Day, and we had a waitress come up to us and we were just chatting with her, and she was so sweet, like just the sweetest person. And I think it might have been like cross earrings. Yes, it was definitely cross earrings. And I remember looking at them and being like, I kind of want to strike up a faith conversation. And, I did. And she bit the bullet. And then all of a sudden, it was just like this super encouraging conversation for the both of us. I mean, I think she felt like she was communicating that she was encouraged, but I walked away feeling super encouraged too. And I was just trying to speak into her and give her some encouragement because I really felt the Lord call me to do that in that moment. And something came out of my mouth that I literally have never thought in my life. It was such a God moment. But I remember encouraging her with this piece of advice that I now find myself using for encouragement too. And that is that the world tries to tell you that success looks like being consistent. But the Bible says success looks like being disciplined. So let's break this down. Consistent would say you do it every time. You do it right every time. But discipline would say you try to do your best every time, no matter what. At least this is how I'm digesting this quote, right? And if you don't believe me on this, go read Hebrews 12. There's a whole section in Hebrews 12 that talks about the discipline of the Lord. He calls us to be disciplined, and discipline is good. We find success in the spirit when we are disciplined. And the world tries to be like, oh, you need to post every single week or every single day or blah, 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 blah to be successful with your social media content, or you need to be able to perform this skill X amount of times before you're considered consistently successful with this. But the Lord's just saying, hey, I just want you to be disciplined. I just want you to grind. I just want your focus to be having your heart in it and pursuing it with your all. And He blesses that, you guys. He blesses discipline. He calls us into discipline. And so I would just encourage you to pay attention to how you are measuring your quote unquote success. Are you trying to measure success with consistency, or are you trying to measure your success with your discipline behind how you're doing something? And this can be hard. And this kind of goes back to this the cliche quote of if you only have 80%, give 100% of that 80% every day, right? We're going to wake up, we're going to have different feelings, we're going to be going through different circumstances, but I just know the Lord sees your heart. I know He sees our heart posture behind all the things that we do. And if our approach is truly something that's pure and desiring deeper relationship with Him, He honors that. He honors that. So if you're in a space where you're like, oh my gosh, consistency would mean that I'm posting every single day, or I am hitting the skill every single day, or I'm hitting these numbers every single day at work, or I'm hitting these, I don't know, every week, or whatever the timeline is that you're creating for yourself. For one, do you care more about the world's measure of success or the Lord's? And two, can you encourage yourself by applauding discipline rather than consistency? That topic for me lately has been mind bending. And just a reminder for you guys, all this stuff that I'm bringing up with you guys right now is all things that I'm actively working through. These are not things that I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, like I've come full circle on this now. This is something that I do consistently in my everyday life. No, these are things that I really need help with right now. And I really need, encouragement with myself. And so, yeah, I just want to close out by saying you're really loved. Like, really, really genuinely loved. And this process that we are a part of, this walk that we're on, is it's a it's a character builder. It's a hard one. It's a difficult one, but there's nothing that's going to bring you more joy, and you are not alone in it. Yeah. And so I just want to encourage you to keep going, and I want to encourage you to dream the big dreams that God's putting in your heart and to go for them, and to not let the world get in the way of that, and to put on the world of possibility glasses so that you are cultivating a reality for yourself that's pushing you in the direction you want to go. If this episode was inspiring to you, encouraging to you at all, please share it with a friend. You guys, I've talked about this before. Um, I really just do this to serve. I feel like God's put me in a position where He just teaches me things that He wants me to share with people. And right now, especially as a newer podcast, there's nothing that I really get out of this besides serving. But the way I've seen it serve me too has been so cool. But that being said, like, I really do this because I care about you guys. I want to give you the tools that God has given me. I want to share with you what He's teaching me. I want to invite you into that space, and I want to do this with you. I love people. Like, I love people. And so, yeah, I just have a huge heart for that. And I want the word that I'm getting from the Lord, the things that I'm learning in the Bible, to get out to other people too. So if you feel encouraged by this, please share it with a friend, share it to your story. Give the podcast account a follow. That's so helpful too. But I love you guys, and I'm here for you guys, praying for you guys always, and I will see you next week.